YY says, I want to be a living text. An organismal text. Even if it means reducing myself into something I'm not. YY says, I'm not sure how. YY says, I do not know what I will contain when I die.
Hello.
Welcome, Mike.
Can't hear you. Oh, there you are. How's it going?
It's going all right.
Long time no see.
Yeah, I was thinking the last time that I saw you face to face, I was moving.
Yeah, and that was how long ago was that? Like a year and a half?
That was 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago.
Oh man, that's wild.
And like
That's crazy.
we we really didn't hang out much the last couple years leading up
Yeah,
to it. So it's been a
yeah.
while.
No, it has
We've
been a
like
while.
we've like
Sorry, I'm
talked
trying
like
to
email,
knock you off.
but
Yeah,
it's
but it's also formal.
yeah.
Like there's no like real chit chat when you're emailing printer mechanicals and
Yeah.
oh man, how have you been in the last 2 years?
I've been all right. Um, I'm getting a little bit of an echo. Do you get a good echo on your end at
Oh
all?
yeah. No, but let me throw on a headset and see if that
Do you have the cat ears?
fixes it. No, no more cat ears. Those have been those have been out of commission for like 5 years. That's
Oh.
what's that? Okay.
Okay.
Safe
Yeah, I don't hear the echo anymore, so
this.
I think we're good. Did you get a thing that popped up that said this is recording?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay. Did you get a thing that popped up that said that this is being recorded right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can cut out any of the embarrassing parts in the beginning. This isn't embarrassing, I guess. This is just normal,
Yeah.
typical chatter. People like that, right? People like to see the human interactions.
Yeah, I think the
We're
a little
human.
more grounded. Yeah, I'm hoping there was no concern about whether we're human or not.
We're not just characters online.
No, it's are you worried about a parasocial situation?
I don't know what I'm worried about.
So let's see. I just gotta adjust my audio settings a little bit.
Okay.
For some reason, this headset does not get along well with Zoom, so I always have to tweak it a little bit when I.
Yeah, I'm throwing you off using Zoom because we typically use Google Meet.
Yeah.
I find that this records better, like side by
Okay.
side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I think I'm all good.
Okay. So audio's good in your end? Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
put my audio down just a little bit. Okay. I think I'm good now.
Perfect.
We did all the human things.
We've gone through the checklist
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so how long have you been in Chicago?
since May, so is that about 3 months, approaching 4?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what month it is. I know that it's either spring or fall because the seasons are
And
changing.
it's yeah. That's I For a little bit I was unsure if, or I feel like we got like a false indicator because leaves were starting to like burn, so they'd turn yellow. And I was like, is it fall? And it's like, no, the trees are just burning from the intense heat.
Yeah.
And so now I think it's really fall. Now it's a true yellow, not a scorched yellow.
Okay. Good. So what have you been up to the last bit? I guess I mean so I'm asking that, but then also like we haven't like I'm trying to think like the last time we actually had a conversation, which is when Sam Moss was in town and
And
Danica.
that's it
Remember?
had to be something after. I guess that's the last time we talked about like book stuff. But I know when you were moving, Ruby and I came over and spent maybe an hour or two with you.
Yeah. And that was like we were I mean my head was just like too much. It just
Yeah,
wasn't like
mid move.
it was moving pretty
Yeah,
it was like because like at that time we were going to move one place and then we decided to move another place. Instead of moving
yeah,
this country, we moved shorter distance and so
yeah.
things
But the
are
last time we had like a fleshed out literary conversation was probably like 3 years ago minimum.
right. Which is odd to me because there was a time where like as 1111 we met bi-weekly, I think.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
that was like during COVID time.
Yeah. You, me, Hannah, Sam had
Yep.
the little Zoom call.
Yeah, yeah, but that was back when we were capable of putting out like 8 books a year and that but that's
Hmm.
dynamics have changed. So,
No, that's okay. There's already so many books out there. We don't need to be churning things out, you know?
yeah,
You know.
right. I think that I mean, all the books that we put out during that time, all the books we put out, they've been really good.
Oh yeah, not to speak ill of the 8 books a year period title. In fact, I think that's where all of my books fall. So especially, but as I've also been doing Cloak, I've been doing like 5 or 6 books a year, and I'm like, this is kind of a lot, and that's less than we were doing for 1111.
Yeah, it is a lot. But I mean, you have your hands in so many things because you're doing stuff with I can't even name all the presses. I mean, do you want
Oh
to try?
god. Okay. Most recently, I've done. I've had my hands in 1111, Cloak, Apocalypse Party, Milkweed Editions, Cabin Carry Editions, WTAW Press, University of Chicago. Um, and I know I'm forgetting like four. I did a Lavender Ink book. I did some DFL. Uh, it's all over the place. Inside the Castle, of course. Uh, a lot of buckets.
There's some that you missed, but I can't remember their names. I can think of what
Yeah,
logos look like, but
yeah.
anyway.
I can even here. I can scoot back, reveal the fact that I'm in shorts. Uh, oh, phonograph editions. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
one
No,
too, because I've been,
that was one of phonograph.
yeah, phonograph. Let's see, da da da, future tense. Um, did a book for erratum. Uh, bunny, if you want to count that separate from phonograph. That's kind of just skimming the shelf what I'm seeing,
Yeah, so
but
you're pretty in there.
yeah, very embedded.
So that's what you've been up to because the last couple of years. I remember the first time when we were talking about uh you doing covers
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah,
it really took off.
yeah, because it was Ganymede was the first one, right? Because it was Ganymede or it was we were talking about reissuing. Yeah,
Yeah.
is that or when we were talking about reissuing Man Oh Man that I was like playing with covers and I think I was sending you like
Oh,
four
I should
Ganymede
grab
covers in
them.
a week and they were all bad.
Well, you were putting a they weren't bad. They were like I remember distinctly being like I want to give you really positive feedback so you continue what you're doing because what you're doing was good, but it just and there were some that really hit the mark really well. I didn't
Yeah.
grab it to put on the like books that we could talk about. But the Collected Voices in the Expanded Field, you did that
Oh
cover?
no, no, I mean the to be clear, I mean the early Ganymede attempts were bad.
Oh, the
The
early. Oh, okay. Ah,
I
yeah.
remember because I think that's the first book that I had done the cover for, and I remember I was sending you like 4 mock-ups every week or something like that, and they would be like these weird, kind of badly done typographic covers, and you'd be like, maybe do this or this, and we kept tweaking until we landed on that one.
Yeah.
But I remember probably like a dozen cover ideas before that one that definitely should not have been used before we landed on that one. But no, I do like some of the. I like the collected voices.
Yeah, let me grab that one quick.
Yeah, I saw that at a bookstore in Chicago, at a record store in Chicago recently, kind of randomly.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah, there was
it's
a
out
little
of
like.
print right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like it's harder to get, but it was
Yeah,
like
we did.
they had like a few cases of like bookcases in the back of the shop,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, what do they got? And I was like, this is a pretty fun selection. And then like on display on a little kind of like stand was that, and I was like, that's kind of wild to see in the wild because
Whoa, that's
I feel like
crazy.
I've never that's one of the ones I've never like just seen out and about
Yeah, I'll
from the
pull up
catalog.
later. Yeah, later when I edit this, I'll just pull up a cover and I'll put it right
Yeah,
between us. I'll put it
right
right.
here.
I'll put it right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, right. Yeah. Um, yeah, that is odd. So we haven't made any money on that. I mean, the goal of that was to break even, and we're still out
Yeah.
$250.
Yeah.
Uh,
Especially, that had 34 contributors, I want to say. So
yeah,
you don't really
sending
want
copies to
to take the money for
contributors.
yourself, and
Yeah,
you don't really want to split something 34 ways, so then it just all goes back into production.
that is the hard thing about doing books like that, like the
Hmm.
Cronenberg book. So on that one, we're at a positive, and I keep on
Hmm.
emailing Chris Kelso and David Rice, and I'm like, we have like, should we just print more books? Should we like lower the price? Like, what do we, because it's not being
Yeah.
like, hey, here's $10 to you, here's $10 to you, and then that's
Yeah. I
$350
mean,
of the surplus we
by
have
the
right
end of
now.
if there's 34 contributors like there was for collected voices, you get to the end of the print run and you're like, okay, everybody come pick up your $2 bill, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. But
But
yeah, I've thought about doing another printing, but I don't know because the print on demand keeps on spitting it back.
yeah, it's probably the ink coverage on those divider pages is
Yeah,
probably pissing Ingram off.
it is. Yeah, but and then I tried to I tried Ingram and then I tried KDP and it's not that KDP is so finicky and it just didn't.
Hmm.
There was a period in the margin and it spazzed out and shut my computer down.
Yeah, I've had to learn. I think that's been the biggest learning curve in book design is how to trick Ingram and KDP's like automated kind of filter or checklist system for
Huh?
production. I've had to figure out so many. I read like a chunk of their like manual they put out specifically just about ink coverage because things always kept getting spit back out about like,
Yeah.
oh, there's too much black ink on this page compared to the other side and things like that, or like how they hate when things run into the margin.
Uh-huh.
So that I feel like I've over the last like 4 years just had to hunker down and be like, how can I trick Ingram consistently?
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I still kind of go back and forth with the collected voices about getting the third print run of it, but it's just I don't yeah, that one might just not because then I'll be like, okay, then how do I sell another like couple hundred copies and is it really
Yeah.
so I think that like figuring out how to do print on demand, but I think you said the files are corrupted and so maybe it's just at a
Yeah.
place where it's not.
And we could do something like, and maybe this whole conversation ends up being troubleshooting printing, but you could do something where you kind of run a function to like auto place the entire PDF in InDesign and then fake the bleed. So there's definitely ways to redo it if we wanted to kind of put a big chunk effort into it.
Yeah, I
But
don't know right at this
yeah,
point.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to think about going back to like the first year or two of books that I typeset because I feel like even if they look okay, I'd want to do so much different on all of them now based on how I like books to look when I make them,
Hmm.
that it would be hard to go back to that and not redo the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's the hard part about like revisiting old work is that it you start changing everything and it's not the old work anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking of old work, let's use this as like transition to go back.
Hmm.
I was gonna say go back to gut text. But do you even want to go back to Man Oh Man?
We could,
Yeah.
because that is how we met.
Yeah, and I still feel like Man Oh Man is has a special spot in my heart. It's
Hmm.
I like that and also the detective one.
Oh, two novels,
Yeah.
the two Orson's books.
Yeah. Those are good. So yeah, I got a picture. So I have pictures of like
Yeah, you've got a whole
people in
shrine
my
set up behind
office.
you.
I have pictures of like I have pictures of David and uh who else? No, it's not just David, but V and there's like all the people who like I've met up with over the years and
Yeah,
I have two of you and this is all like pull up the picture right there, but this is us
yeah.
man oh man.
Oh, yeah. After
Yeah.
am I 21 in that picture? Maybe 22. I think 21.
Yeah. So we're at Majors and Quinn and
Hmm.
you asked me to do like to be in conversation with you about it and
Hmm.
Garrett someone who I knew from Michigan from like back when I was 19, 20 um and then we reconnected in Seattle and then he was starting a press and I was doing things in publishing and then I met you and I read Man Oh Man and I really liked it and then we connected and you were just finishing your bachelor's degree and I
Hmm.
had like I was st I was starting 11/11 and yeah, just going back to that time like there was like it's such a different time than we're at right now but like there's like endless possibilities like trying to think, like I can't remember if Atlas was born yet or not.
Yeah, he had just been born, I think. He was
Okay.
incredibly young.
So,
Um,
but I remember like inviting you over and like
yep.
I was like showing you books and things and I don't know.
Yeah, it's when you had your basement office. And so you
Yeah.
were showing me all the shelves there, and you gave me yeah, there's a picture of it.
There's you with my
You
cat in the basement
with the
office.
cat that I was terrified of because if you didn't pet him, he would bite you immediately, and you didn't know how to. There was no
Yeah.
escape.
Yeah. But if you notice in this picture it says you're holding a mug that says Cat Dad on it.
Yeah, which now I have two cats, which I did not
There you
have at the
go.
time. But
Yeah.
I remember you gave me like a tour of all the books, and I was incredibly excited because you'd so rare to see a bunch of small press books in person. And then
Uh-huh.
you kind of brought out the whole gauntlet, and it was like, oh man, like to see all of this stuff that I like always see online in the flesh was so cool. And you gave me coffee in a glass, which was kind of crazy to me.
Oh yeah, that was
Not the mug,
you
but
like
in
burned
a
your hand and I because I just
yeah.
took coffee out of a it tastes better when you drink it out of a glass. I don't know.
Hmm.
I forget that normal people don't. It was like out of a mason jar, I think.
No, it was like a rocks glass almost. Like it was a
Oh, what?
short glass.
Yeah, I mean
And then
we
you
do
poured
have
it, and you said, "I feel like I need to explain myself."
yeah we do have some of those like typical yeah, they're made to withstand heat.
Yeah, yeah. I
Obviously, they
mean,
would have all broken by now because we still use those glasses.
there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first time we met. It was right after. It was the summer after I graduated from my bachelor's degree, which
Was
is in
that
the
2017,
maybe 20. That would be 2018.
2018?
Hmm. So it
Okay.
was like May or June 2018.
Okay, yeah, because 11/11 started in January of 2018. I mean, the idea for it
Because I
and
think you had
around
the first two
2017.
books were out when we had met. I think Starving
Okay.
Romantic and Sam were already out.
Yeah, those came out in September, so I think that they were like in the
Or maybe you had
pipeline.
been. Yeah, I think you had proofs by the time that I came over. That's what it was.
Okay. Yeah, because then Gut Text eventually became the was it? Yeah, it was the third book that
The
we put out.
third, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, but going back to Mano Man, so we did that conversation at Majors and Quinn in Minneapolis, and yeah, and then like you shared the manuscript for Gut Text, and I remember talking to James, because James was the other person at the time who was working with 1111, and I mean, I really liked it. This is the kind of thing that I mean really spoke to me, pressing the boundaries of like what a book can or should be.
Yeah,
And I thought that there was a lot of really cool philosophical things in there. Like, I mean, I thought it's kind of like one of those things where it's just like, haha, I think this is funny, but like I don't think many people else would. I mean, it has to find its audience. Uh,
yeah,
and I remember talking to James about it, and he was like, yeah, I mean, he liked it. But then we were kind of at a point where we were like, well, if we start publishing this kind of stuff, then we're just gonna always have to publish this kind of stuff. Like this could like really, like we're already kind of nobodies, but like we're really gonna be nobodies. But I mean, Gut Text has been like a pretty successful book. Uh, so it turned out really well. I mean, so that was the point. Like it was like the third book. I mean, and like James's book, his first one, Sam, that is it's a novel, it's a poem novel. I mean, it's a
hmm
consistent and it's formatted all funky and it has to do with the reader's experience of how it's typeset. So it's not anything that
hmm
was out of like the stuff that we were doing. Um,
yeah,
but it's just kind of like, okay, well, we're just gonna go lean hard into just being ourselves.
yeah.
So,
And that's yeah, because I remember you showing me those two like initial books, and I was like, I can see, especially Sam, like formally approaching a similar thing to what I was trying to do, but I was like, is this outside of your wheelhouse when I like sent it to you? Especially because even though Man O Man might look kind of weird for a novel, it's still relatively conventional in its formatting. It's just kind of all M dash dialogue,
mhm.
with the quirk being that the dialogue's unattributed, but
Yeah.
like it looks relatively normal. But
Yeah,
then
that
Gut
was
Text kind
definitely
of,
most like your most normal looking book. It's like,
and that's the first one.
well, I think you're coming out of like the institution and you're like,
Yeah.
it's a good hybrid. You have one foot like in the university and then one foot, in your own space.
Yeah. I think I it's hard for me to go back to Man O Man naturally because it's the first book, but also I wrote it when I was 21, and so I
Well, I think you
I
wrote it when
I
you were
have,
20.
yeah, probably when I was 20. Now that you're saying that, so I definitely have a. It's hard for me to read a passage from it because I'm like, oh man, because I'm thinking about how I wrote
Oh
9 years
man, oh
ago.
man.
I exactly,
I
but
I
I
still think it's like I mean, I really like your early work. It's probably just because not to say that the stuff you're doing now isn't good. I think that there's like I enjoy that time period of us
yeah,
of us.
yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I feel like I had so little idea of kind of like what writing people were doing at the time, and in making those two books I felt like I really like pulled the curtain for myself, and it was like, oh my god, look at like everything people are working on, because at the same time that I was working on Man O Man and Gut Text, I like discovered you guys and Inside the Castle and all these like weird small presses doing kind of formally funky things. So I
Yeah.
do associate like those two books specifically with that kind of like period of discovery, which is really exciting just in its nature. Whereas
Yeah.
like kind of learning what everybody was up to and trying to figure out how I fit into it.
All those weirdos and we find each other online.
Hmm. That's right. Back when people could effectively use Twitter and talk
Yeah.
to each other, and
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation because
yeah, we'll save that for later.
that was a fun time like
Yeah.
before COVID or whatever. I mean, when
Yeah,
it
2018.
X.
So
What's that?
I said, yeah, 2018, so before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, am I blurry too? Okay, I think that my camera needed to refocus. Um, yeah, I think that like just when it turned into X, it just kind of lost whatever it was. The healthy,
Yeah.
I mean, the conversations were kind of borderline. Like, I mean, they're healthy in an aspect that it was open to everyone to have a conversation and share their opinions. But I just kind of felt like the health of the conversations just kind of started to go
Yeah. It
down.
felt like a like these converging points, and then we can stop talking about Twitter. But it felt like these converging points that I was getting, like the algorithm was getting shittier, and the people running it were way worse at it. Uh, so it was all lost, kind of like the small, kind of like organic discovery, like it felt like there was before. And at the same time, I was also getting really sick of being on social media all the time, so I was on it less. And then
Mhm.
seeing less of the stuff I liked, so I was on it less because then it just kept feeding to the point
Yeah.
that I was like, I don't even want to open this anymore.
Yeah, I mean there was a time like when things were really thriving that I like every time I opened my phone I was like, what's going on Twitter?
Yeah. Hmm. And now,
No, it's just I mean
yeah,
Instagram, but that's different because it's not text, so it's just photo,
yeah.
video. So
You got to start making like 1111 slides for Instagram.
yeah, things are changing. I feel like an old person, but like things are
Yeah.
changing too quick and I just can't keep up with it. So I mean if anyone wants to like do that for me, then
Yeah. I
message
think about
me.
that kind of thing a lot with Cloak because I'm like I hate going on my phone as much as I do. So I want to go on it
Yeah.
less, but then I feel like I should go on it for both like my own promotion, but also for Cloak. Cloak may be more pressure because there's other authors who are, you know, at stake. Uh,
Yeah.
but then I'm like, is this even that effective? Can I just be a hermit in my own little corner? Like I know Winter Editions is like fully offline and seems to just have like or not offline but off social media and has like
Mm.
an email newsletter and like cold calls people and does all this like work outside of that space and I'm like is that maybe
Yeah.
the way to live but I don't know. I
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
this was maybe a couple years ago, but in talking to um so I was talking to I'm name dropping people, but Josh, you're like, oh yeah.
Hmm.
Josh from Sublunary Edition and Asterism. Uh,
Yeah.
so I talked with him and Jesse from Kern Punkt and a couple other people, and uh, I think that that's all who's there. But we were thinking about like trying to come together and put together like a print media thing,
Hmm.
like where there's like news and it was this kind of idea to be like, okay, everyone let's get back into slow media and
Hmm.
it didn't take off because we didn't go anywhere with it. And then Josh got super busy because of SPD closing and then
Yeah.
Asterism getting really big. But yeah, there was a point where I was like, like I want to bring back magazines and I want to learn about books and
Yeah.
like an indies magazine.
But then that's the same trap where you end up doing that as much as you're publishing a book and
Yeah.
you're like why is half of my book publishing time
Yeah, and
tangent to
then and then we were like, okay, and then like we could like all like we could have like print centers where like each city like prints their own and like distributes it locally. And it just
get a
got
whole master plan.
it was yeah, and then it just didn't go anywhere because it would just take so much time and yeah, I think and maybe there's already like existing infrastructure of like Southwest Review that does a good job of
Hmm.
like being a tastemaker of like check out these authors or check out
Yeah.
these these
Yeah.
people books. So I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that was the whole I guess we that was the whole Twitter tangent and then getting
Yeah.
into flow media magazines. Because I mean honestly, I would rather okay, the last thing instead of going on my phone, I would rather pull out like a magazine or like, something like that and like learn about
Yeah.
I think of like those like old music magazines, like the heavy metal magazines and like learning about like a new album that's coming out from a record label in Europe that I would have no idea of knowing about other than just like reading this like metal mayhem
Yeah.
magazine thing. So I was
Yeah.
thinking to like do that for like indie stuff.
Yeah.
So the thought's still there, but yeah, it would just take too much time. So that never happened.
Yeah. And that's you, like I said, you end up like you become a magazine editor instead of a book publisher at that point.
Right. Yeah,
And
because
then
it would
it's
just
about kind of where you want to, yeah,
yeah,
it would
I
be
was thinking
such a
like how much time it would take, and I'm like, this is,
mhm,
I have like
its own institution. Yeah.
I have kids and I have to work and I have, I have to I want to keep on publishing books, and so
Yeah.
anyways, okay, all right, so okay, we'll reel it back. Well, okay, so gut text. Um, gut text is uh was I think that like people learned about us, like they learned about who like 1111 is because of gut text. This was a thing that we tried to market it hard or like try to like figure out like what like a good marketing thing for it. Because remember, like a week after it came out, we put it up for a name your price download.
Yeah, we had that the PDF we had put up.
Yeah, so like people could go on the website and you could click download and you can get a PDF of gut text.
Hmm.
And there was one day that we had 5,000 visits to that page,
Yeah.
and we had, I don't know, $15 contributed.
Yeah. Which could be any number of downloads
Yeah.
above 15. Yeah.
So I don't, but I mean, people knew who well, I got a lot of emails. Pe- I mean, and I was gonna say that your name was already on the map because you were publishing something like every week in a zine, like a
Yeah, I was doing a
flash
lot
novel.
of like short kind of like poems and mostly short stories at the time, and I I truly don't know how like I feel like as I don't want to say get older, but as I continue writing, I'm like I don't know how I was maintaining some breakneck pace like that at the time, and I think it was a lack of uh thorough editing. I'd spend less time editing and more time writing and just like put the piece out, move on, start working on the next. And it is very wild to think of that time. And I think that kind of coincides why it felt so active is because I kind of was always like, and someone should read this thing that I wrote. So it felt more embedded because I was always trying to like push these pieces, you know?
But I mean, you always had something behind each piece, the idea behind it.
Yeah.
There was like a
And
concept, and you're like, I want to
yeah,
play around with
I
whatever the
think,
concept is.
yeah. And I think that really drove a lot of those pieces that I would get an idea and I was so excited by like the prospect of the writing or doing the writing and figuring it out. And then
Mhm.
I would get to the editing and I'm like, oh, I don't need to, this part isn't that fun for me. And now as time progresses, I would kind of have to sludge through it. But now as time progresses, I feel like the editing is where the work reveals itself. And it's similar to like Man Oh Man, or like the collected voices like typeset. I'm like, if I go back to any of those stories, I think I would rewrite the whole thing, because I think the excitement of those pieces to me was in the act of writing them rather than kind of in bringing them to a point of being kind of a polished piece.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And so that made me think about the second book that never came out, which is just the act of like, you writing it. So again,
Yeah.
like into concepts. So gut text is about what if the text became conscious on the page, and
Hmm.
that's super fun. I mean, then like I don't that we
I
should
think that's a good.
we should sell at least 10,000 copies of that.
I listen. I'm not going to argue against you.
I mean, it had 5,000 downloads in a day, so I mean, good. But yeah, I mean, it's done well. It was translated into Spanish.
Yeah.
Um, I was gonna grab that. I could just quickly grab books, and I should have grabbed that too. But maybe I'll just put a picture
Oh,
right
maybe I. Wait, I might
there.
have it in. Oh,
There we go.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that was fun. That was our first book to be translated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um
Yeah, and that cover they did is beautiful.
yeah. Um okay, yeah, moving on to, so this is the second one. There's only two copies of this in existence.
Hmm.
Um
And it's you have one and my mom has one.
oh, you you never kept yours.
I don't even know.
This is what the back looks like. I don't know if I should let
Mhm.
anyone see what it looks like inside though.
Yeah, that's that one truly was, I feel like, a like pure experiment. You know, it's
Yeah.
because that's I was trying to figure out really wild ways to use the program Twine, kind
Uh,
of to do essentially Mad Libs, where I would have it construct these like semi-coherent sentences, and the goal was to do kind of something maybe like trance-inducing or bibliomantic, where you could just open to random passages and just flow through the mush for a bit. But it's
yeah,
it's
I mean, that's why I was laughing. I was going to read something out loud.
I think it's just like noun verb chains
Yeah,
was the
now
structure.
schema outside terror, recognition metabolizing phantom limb along computer, outside erotic along non-existence, entering critical, consuming void, climbing barrier atop zeitgeist, entering theory, rearranging forest of time atop apparatus to narrator, plus or minus. I just
Yeah, and
yeah,
there's no punctuation. Uh,
yeah,
I think the like
and you have some space. I will show the inside.
yeah,
There's some spacing things.
hmm
Uh,
and that spacing was determined by or those kind of section breaks were determined by how much I could churn out before my program would crash, and then whatever I had churned out, I'd put into the document, and then I'd reboot it.
yeah, that was a fun time, and like I said, it was a fun time with these like
Yeah,
emerging technologies. Major,
I think it's major, media, and minor were the three
okay.
sections, if I remember. But
Hermitage entering low poly texture within haptic. Our union text. Bioplastic? Question mark.
so there is punctuation.
There is, yeah.
But I think the way that it was set up is it wasn't a noun verb chain. It was roots and connective text. So it would be like typically a noun for the root, or like something that the well, yeah, it would typically be a noun for the root, and then the connective would be like a verb, a punctuation, like some kind of like mathematics symbol, something to like kind of tie the different roots together. And I was like, this is brilliant. This is going to work out perfectly. And when it started churning out, I was like, how can I reorder this or like orient this in a way that this seems interesting to move through? Or are you blurred again?
I think so. Am I blurred to you?
A little bit, yeah.
I think it's one of these things that's it's like trying to autofocus and
Oh
it
yeah.
doesn't
Oh,
autofocus
there you're good now.
correctly. Okay. Because I remember this was more concept driven than actual writing driven, and we were hoping to have it on display at like somewhere. That
Yeah, we were talking about it as like a installation piece where you'd kind of just have the book there and you could flip through it in real time as kind of like a present encounter with the book rather than something you kind of engage with over a long period.
yeah. Yeah, I was like, well, yeah, I was like, there's two copies in existence, and there's this
Mhm.
idea for it, and maybe there should only be two copies in existence.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of gets dug up in however many. centuries, and they're like, what were these people thinking? Like, is this how they
Yeah.
were writing? It's the red herring artifact.
Yeah, it's going to be like of all the books, yeah, in like 100,000 years that are preserved from the
For
multiple
some
class
reason, it's
society.
this
It's
incoherent POD paperback.
yeah, it's going to be like become like a holy text, and they're gonna
Yeah, it's gonna be like what was that book, Canticles of Leibowitz? They're gonna be.
man. Okay, well, let's just yeah. I should find a way to preserve it.
You could do just encase it in resin like they do with moon rocks.
There we go.
Oh
All
man.
right, so you went from gut text, which is more of a traditional book, to a concept book, and then to a normal looking back book to a kind of a hybrid. So
Yeah,
we were talking about this cover because this is the first cover that you did.
ever designed. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is like something that you've talked about before is when you start writing a book, the first thing you do is pick the size of the book.
hmm Yeah.
And this is a good size of a book. Like I feel
Yeah.
like
Four and a
this is
quarter
like
by 7.
yeah. This is a good size good size book.
Yeah, I think
So,
I'm really drawn to that size, or like I guess 5 by 8 and smaller for these types of books, because I think often when you see these like text image hybrids or something that has a lot of like interesting layout, it tends to be, like 7 by 10 or like a coffee table size. And
mhm.
when you see those books, you kind of assume like, oh, this is going to have like some very involved design. And so when you work in that smaller size, which is very reminiscent of kind of novels and poetry in general, I guess more so novels if you think of like the old Grove Press paperbacks, I think were 5 by 8. Uh,
The
I
like
like that it kind of,
the classic paperback pocket paperback.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have like
That or I think the classic pocket is probably
like
four and a
this
quarter,
size.
4.5 by 7. But then I'm thinking of like the
Yeah, I think this is you're right. This is the exact size as a pocket.
yeah, that like yeah, and I believe that's why I chose like that 4.25 by 7 is
Yeah.
because it makes the inside I feel more impactful or more exciting to me because you pick up this book thinking it's a novel, and for the most part that book is, but then kind of as you open it you realize that there's a lot more kind of going on in terms of how you have to kind of bring yourself to interact with the text.
Yeah.
Like you kind of don't get to just read it. You have to kind of look at the page from a distance and then say like, how am I going to approach this? A lot of the time, you
Yeah,
have to have a game plan.
I mean there's some beautiful pages. I just flipped through and I was like, "Oh yeah, these are here with the alternating."
Oh yeah, the you and I,
Yeah.
uh, the pronoun swap.
There's one oh
Yeah.
no, it's not in this one. It's in this one. There's
hmm
one. So I'll wait, but yeah. Yeah, these
Yeah, and
I can
that's
do this
also
in a few years. So I mean I like
yeah,
all the things that you did in this obviously, but
and this was that was the first book that I had made an InDesign to the typeset of my own. I had been making all these books in Word.
I just see a field of
Oh,
amices.
oh yeah, that's the one of those classic Deleuze references. But
I'm sorry, I
that book
kind of
was
interrupted
a
you. Go ahead.
no. That's okay. I was gonna say that was kind of up until then I had been making all of my books in Microsoft Word, where I'd like set the page in Word to like the custom trim size to like 5 by 8 or whatever, and then set it up like that, and then pray that I could convert it somehow into like a print ready PDF. But that was the first of my own books that I had typeset in InDesign. I remember, and I was like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? And that's before I even really knew how to use InDesign well. And I think that kind of triggered the fixation on typesetting because I do, all these covers, but I feel like the typesetting is the thing that I tend to really enjoy. Like as much as I love working on covers, it's pretty much just 2 pages you're designing. Your front and back panel, whereas the typeset you're going through and you're trying to make something that either can sustain itself without being boring or annoying for 200 pages if it's like a normal novel, or trying to make these pages that can interact in some way, um, from spread to spread. And I think that was like the book where that really kind of like became clear to me, that the movement across pages is this really compelling thing. Because a spread can be beautiful, but then how does that spread kind of transition into the next?
Hmm. It's beautiful. And you've only continued from there to like to explore that design element. Um,
Yeah,
but something I was thinking about too is that you do traditional like short stories and novels and stuff too, because you typeset
yeah,
other books that look a little bit more traditional.
yeah,
Like even like David's that just came out today. Um, I mean that looks amazing too. And doesn't have like um all the extreme
yeah,
that you have, but it's
yeah. It's
nice.
it's a pretty like conventionally kind of formatted novel for the most part.
Yeah, and even like the Vegas Dilemma, that's like
Yeah,
my favorite interiors.
thank you. That I remember finding that title font, um, and it had something like 6 options for every letter, and so it felt like this fun puzzle of trying to figure out how to be interesting and legible, but also still cohesive. That it's like one of the it felt like kind of like a typography puzzle. It that was very fun to make.
That's amazing that you like remember that specific book of like the hundreds of books that you typeset.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think that's the recall is I think most of these I've worked for like design agencies and whatnot, and those books all blend together. But it feels like when there's like a fun, I took it for granted when we had started working together, but it is not incredibly common that you love a book that you're designing, as its own
Mhm.
book. You might love like the idea or like the design brief, but when I was very lucky in that the first books that I was working on were books that I really wanted to read too. And so I was like, I have to design this well enough that I want to read it after it gets printed. Like it has like that kind of alignment isn't always the case. And so that was kind of where I started. I feel like
yeah,
shaped a lot of how I approached it, because I was like, this has to be beautiful even if it's just for me.
yeah. And I think that speaks to like a broader like idea behind like the role of a small press, especially ones like ours that are not like super mainstream of like even the small press. Like you mentioned, like Milkweed or like
Hmm.
Milkweed, Grey Wolf Coffee House. Those are the
Yeah,
ones that are like people people who like read books like they like know those small presses, but like
yeah,
we're in the corners of the internet and you have to kind of like search us out to find us.
yeah,
But I think that like what's cool though is that like like I've never taken on a book that I likewise like I really didn't like want to see exist in like a physical form. Like I was like, I mean
yeah,
obviously you know what it's like to look through submissions. I mean, so
yeah,
there are so many books that should be published by somebody else. Like they're
exactly.
good. But like the ones that speak to me are like ones that I'm like, okay, I don't have a lot of like it's gonna take a lot to find that like intrinsic motivation inside myself to like
Hmm.
want to dedicate the time that needs to be dedicated to see this through. Um,
Yeah.
like on the
And I
other
mean,
side, authors should be thinking about that
mhm,
too, about finding that good
yeah,
pair with the press. Because you don't want to find a press where like the person who's typesetting it is just like it's their day job and they're not thinking about
yeah,
how someone's going to be reading it. So sorry, yeah.
yeah. And I was just gonna say, we kind of joked earlier about how like 8 books a year felt like a lot, but then you're picking 8 books out of 300 or however many, which is a very that's a very small kind of like cut. So you end up looking
Yeah.
at,
Well, I think it was like over
290
500
books.
that
Yeah,
year that we did 8. I think that
yeah.
over
I think
500.
it was 500, and I think we did like, yeah, 7 or 8 books that year, and I think
Yeah.
not all of them were from that. I think only like 3 or 4 of them were from that submission window.
Hmm.
And so you end up reading all this stuff, and a lot of the time you're like, this is, a solid book, and sometimes you're even like, this is like an incredible book, but I am not the person to publish it. And I found that a lot with Cloak, because Cloak has a theme, with visibility and concealment. And so sometimes I'll get these books that are incredible,
I was gonna
but they
say
have nothing to do with
concealment.
the theme. Yeah, the merch, the early limited 25 shirt run.
I still wear this quite a bit. Like it's just a shirt that
Yeah,
is part of
that's
my
it's
like
my
rotation.
and it is for me too, if only because it's like a solid like t-shirt with a small logo front, big logo back. I'm like, I can pull this out and not feel like I'm self-promoting. But with a Cloak, yeah, I'll be like, this is an incredible book, but it has nothing to do with what I'm doing here, which can kind of
Yeah.
suck because you're like, this book's incredible, and I have to tell them you got to take this somewhere else. But then
Yeah.
you're like, you should definitely take this somewhere else though. And I try
Right.
to recommend places to people when it's very, very good. And I've had a somewhat good success rate in my recommendations. I've seen some of those books published by some of the places I recommended, which is really fun to see
Nice.
because you're like, hell yeah, I made it out there. Um, but it is very hard to work through submissions sometimes because it's, yeah, you kind of have to predict like what you're willing to. It sounds dramatic, but like dedicate yourself to, because then you accept a book and you're then saying like, for the next, like 9 months or whatever, I'm going to spend a ton of my time making this the best that I can,
Hmm.
and like getting this out to people and making sure it's a beautiful edition. And
Right.
especially because Cloak is kind of like a design driven press. Beyond that theme, I'm always reading submissions and thinking like, what interesting things can I do to this book? Because I think of Cloak a lot as a little bit of like a playground for myself as a designer, that I want these editions to look like they're doing something interesting visually, because if I had accepted them, I feel like they're doing something interesting in terms of content, and I'm trying to reflect that in some way. Um, and so I find myself while I'm reading submissions always being like, what could I do to this book if I accept it? And trying to figure out, and then it's a thought of like, what would an author reasonably let me do to this book before they're like, well, this isn't my book anymore, you just
Yeah.
have your own idea of what the book should be.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you do a good job. So I don't know if you saw the conversation I had with Logan, but
Not yet.
okay, I posted it a couple of days ago. But
Hmm.
we talk about Runoff Sugar Crystal Lake and about how that was like just text at the time. And
Yeah.
you made that book like, I mean, you guys worked together, but that book totally changed from like when it came in as the manuscript to like what we have published now. And I
Yeah.
think it looks amazing. But that was
Thank
like,
you.
that was Mike being
Yeah.
like, how far can I let how far is the author
Yeah. And
let me push this?
that's like, Logan is a dream in that regard, because he once said, when we were working on Casket Flare's second book, he said something to me that I was like, this is a what I've been waiting for, which is, he said, you can add as many pages as you want as long as you don't change the order of the ones I already put. And I was like, well, that's that's incredible. Like, I can. It was just like, do what you want to do, and then we'll cut and see what works. And that he provides a lot of freedom, and he does a lot of work on his end to kind of encourage what I do. Like, he'll send these like 2,000 word emails, like mapping out like what he has in mind aesthetically or visually, or like if there's certain pages that he has like a very specific idea for, and he'll send these like folders of images for inspiration, like books that he likes that he wants to kind of draw from. And so he does all of this kind of work that makes it possible for me to jump off without kind of straying too far from what the book should be. And so he's really like the perfect collaborator in that sense, kind of in that like designer author relationship, which is why we've done like 4 or 5 books together.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, besides the one that he did with Evan, I mean, you've
Yeah.
done all the books, I think.
Yeah, I think every like full length book we've done together.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he at the end of his like our conversation, we were talking about Doom was is it what's the name of the title? Doom is
Doom is the house without a door.
yeah, it's an amazing title.
Hmm.
Uh yeah, and just about like how you guys have worked together on that and just your collaboration process and like the hours that go into that collaboration,
Oh yeah.
the author. And I mean you did that like as an editor for 1111. Like that was like during that time
Yeah.
where we were meeting every 2 weeks to have like an
Yeah.
actual like 1111 meeting. And you like had those conversations with those authors at that time.
Yeah.
I think like those would be let's see, with Jake, Zero Access.
Yeah.
That was
Jake,
one
that
of
was
the first
another very
ones.
involved. Yeah,
Yeah.
his and I think his and Logan's were two of the first ones that I had done. Because in fact, I think if I remember, it was either his or Logan's that I said, you should accept this and I'll come on as an editor and I'll do
Yeah,
all the
yeah. So that was, I mean, this is going back into like, yeah, the like early days of 1111. But like I was looking at like what I could take on. I really liked
work. Hmm.
Zero Access by Jake Reber, and I really liked Drifter by David Leo Rice. And
Hmm.
Sam Moss really liked Drifter. I mean, I liked both. And I was looking at those like, those 8 books or whatever that eventually we published.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if we can do another one of these guys. Like this is like all these should be published. I'd love to publish them all. And then you were like, I think that you like started you were working at the Mia, right?
Yeah.
And you were like in the
Oh yeah.
bathroom reading reading Jake's
Yeah.
manuscript.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. I think it was like on like a lunch break or something, and I just had the PDF like pulled up on my phone, and I was
And you're like, you have to publish this.
yeah in the gift shop stock room. I was begging you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that everything worked out really well because
Yeah.
that established a good relationship with Jake. Because after that was Leech, and then
Hmm.
um, the Gloom series is going to pull
Yeah.
out because I was doing
Hmm.
some work with these recently. So yeah, this is coming out
Yeah.
in October. Um, yeah, but anyways, yeah, Zero XS. This is Yeah, I'll wait to talk to Jake about how cool this is. But yeah, but yeah, then
Yeah.
you
It's
guys worked
incredible.
on Leech together, and then this one, um, Jake
That's
ended
all
up
Jake.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jake was it was on, but it's a different thing because
Oh yeah, like a
it's a
graphic
graphic
novel of
novel.
sorts. Yeah.
So yeah, but anyways, yeah, I mean this is going back to why we're talking about this is because about you forming relationships with the authors themselves and you publishing some books. So we did these 3 and you established some really good relationships with authors. And I remember there was a time it was I said something about how like, oh, one day you're gonna have a press, and you were like, no, I don't want
Yeah. I knew
responsibility of
you were gonna
that.
bring that up because I was so adamantly against it. And then I was like out for a walk randomly one day, and I was like, "Shit, I do think I need to start a press."
Yeah. I could just feel it. I could feel that I mean, you were doing such a good job with the books that you've taken on for 1111. And I was like, no, I was like, Mike, it just makes sense for Mike to start his own thing.
I think it's all rooted in the fact that I am really specific and strong-willed about the things that I like, and so I'd be like, "No, we have to like do this project,
Hmm.
even if I'm the only person who likes it." And I think it's that like that stubborn uh close-sightedness that publishers need
Hmm.
is to say no, even if this is just for me, I want to put it up because ultimately,
Yeah.
you're doing all this work for free. that you have to
Right.
really truly give a shit about it in order to put out something that's good.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's,
absolutely. Yeah,
these
and that's
presses are all so small that yeah, I mean, none of us are doing this as like a day job, So it's got to be something you care about so much that you get home from work and then you work more and you do that.
Mhm. Right, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a misconception about presses. I mean, there are some that have gone out and they've made money and
Mm,
some have become nonprofits. I guess I was gonna say they get grant money, but I don't know if they don't get grant money anymore
yeah, maybe not anymore.
here. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, I mean, the money that we've made, as you know, it just goes right back into the press,
yeah,
and I think that like 1111 has been pretty fortunate because there are presses who can't even do that. They
yeah,
lose too much money and their books don't make back enough, and so they have to close down.
yeah,
And so, I mean, since you're still doing Cloak, I mean, you have a lower cost burden than 1111 because
yeah,
I pay someone to do the cover and typeset, and
yeah. I do the whole
so
thing, and it's
you do everything. Yeah,
yeah, which is it costs less, but it does take a lot more time than two people doing something at the same time. Because then
yeah,
you you get the cover and the guts for free, but then all that time you spent on the cover and the guts meant that you didn't have time to work on like promotional material until after all that was done, or like scheduling until, so it all kind of, you can't run things in parallel exactly.
right.
um, or you can't run too much in parallel because then you're you know keeping track of so much, and it's so it ends up kind of being a much more straight line of a process. But the the fact that it's all me and I'm using Ingram as like a kind of that combined printer and distributor makes things a lot more cost effective. And then Cloak's kind of in a similar position to what you mentioned, where it kind of just pays for itself. Like Cloak is in a weird position as well because the press is funded through a Patreon account, which people can subscribe to, and at certain levels you get a kind of like each copy complimentary, or not complimentary because you're paying for it, but you kind of automatically get each copy as they come out, and then all the royalties go to the author. And so there's a very kind of clear split that I can say, all this Patreon money is funding these, ISBNs or fees
Mhm.
for whatnot. Um, and then the royalties are just going to the author. So it's a weird method, and I don't know how sustainable it would be at different sizes. But at this size, it kind of just, as one person behind the mask, behind the cloak, um, it kind of just makes things more clear for me. Which is, it's all about streamlining when you're streamlining without kind of making shit worse. Is kind of the goal of the one man operation.
Yeah, I think that you hit on something important there, which is sometimes people start a press and they try to imitate what bigger presses are doing, and they just
Hmm.
fail miserably.
Yeah,
And so I feel like you got to develop it as you go and see what works and what doesn't work.
yeah,
You have to try the name your price download and see if that works. Like
and then make your $15.
you have to see what works and what doesn't work. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that that's like it's a hard thing because uh the people behind the press, we're not making money. We just want this thing to exist. And
Hmm.
so like and I know that there's other places like famously like amphetamine sulfate
Hmm.
they don't have any kind of like discounts or anything like that. So like
Yeah.
we'll do like an end of the year sale and they'll be like we'll never do an end of the year sale. But it's because their prices are the prices and they have certain
Yeah.
margins, and I don't think that I think that they're in the same position that we are. I'm just using them as an example because
Yeah.
it is true because when we have a sale, that 20% off is like that's 20% of the profit that we are going to reinvest into this.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part is like, well, we have stock that needs to go because we want to make money on the printing that we've already done. But at the same time, if we sell it at a lower rate, then basically, and if it's even if it's only like $3 or $4, it's like, well, $3 or $4 kind of is is a lot for a small press,
Yeah.
because it adds up. So yeah,
Yeah.
all those like business logistics and things are difficult.
Yeah.
And
That's
and also like we know what it's like to be on the other side as being an author and also as being someone who's buying the books.
yeah.
If a book costs too much, I'm like, well, I think I'm just going to wait on that one because that's just going to go on a stack on my nightstand.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing that motivated the 100% royalty to author in Cloak was it was
Mm.
the authors essentially making the same amount they did or would on like another small presses book, but I just remove the publisher's cut from the list price. So
Okay,
instead of the book having to be like, you know, $15, it'll be $12 because
gotcha.
only one
Yeah,
half of that party's having to get paid. So that's been a good way to like push the books and make them more accessible.
right.
Uh, but it's, I mean, like you said, every press is different. And I'm almost certain that this method wouldn't work at different
Well,
scales.
and I think so within that $3 cut that you're taking out, we're paying for a graphic designer and someone to typeset.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
that's what we're doing with that cut. Yeah, because what we do is we split that profit after production, as you know. I'm just
Yeah,
for whoever's watching.
for the audience.
It's yeah for the for the audience. I mean, and that's we've been very transparent about that. Is that we just split it 50/50, and we're always kind of recouping those expenses because if we do a
Hmm.
quick run, there are some books that are still in the red, and there's some that are heavily in the black. It just kind of depends on what we do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's
but
all.
but yeah, our costs are a little bit higher than you are with Cloak, and
Oh
also
yeah,
because we're doing things at a little bit of a higher volume too.
yeah, exactly. And that's the worst part of publishing is that the financial and the business models are so important and also the least fun part.
They are.
It's like you have to put
Yeah.
so much thought in this
It-
thing, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I gotta get a second person here because this is the thing I never want
yeah.
to think about.
Yeah, I think that the royalties are the hardest for me. I'm really happy like when a book does well and I can be like, hey, this is your cut. This is great. You sold this many books. But then also there's some books that are just really slow, and I'm like, I want to reassure the author that their book is still good, even though they haven't had as
Yeah,
expected sales.
yeah,
And like and also like it's okay if your book is still in the red. Like that's just what happens in
yeah,
business. This other book
yeah.
over here, they covered whatever, like we as
Mhm.
a collective are like working together, and we're still like gonna be able to put books out. So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to make any author feel bad.
yeah,
So because their
yeah,
books are awesome, and
yeah.
none
The
of us
sales
are
do
just
not
numbers.
reflect the quality.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. God.
Well, anyways, yeah, that was a whole side tangent. But yeah, I mean, Cloak is a very cool thing, and it operates in a very unique way that only Cloak can operate. And I think it's
Yeah,
awesome that you're doing that. Uh, and there's other presses, small presses that have come up. You have a new book coming out
I do.
with
With
Grant's Press, or who?
no, this is with Crop Circle Press, which is run by Naomi Falk, who worked with Archway Editions for a while. I think still does.
Okay,
But yeah, she also has a book out through Inside the Castle, Surrender of Man.
okay,
It's a fun, like art kind of theory slash criticism text, which I was. It was a very fun book to typeset for. This is the fun thing about working on people's books is then I also get to work with them in other capacities, and I can.
uh-huh.
So like that book was very fun because it's predominantly straightforward prose, but there was a lot of kind of leeway in how to approach the design because it has a very weird trim size, kind of not quite square, but almost. Uh, and so naturally, you don't want kind of the text block to fill that space. And so you have to figure out kind of fun ways to alternatively format that. But it was a lot of fun because I worked with her as the designer on her book, and then kind of through a long-winded set of circumstances, we ended up kind of agreeing to do this Being Towards Death book together. I had originally sent it to like Archway, but it didn't really kind of fit their aesthetic or their kind of project. And she has this art press on the side she had been running that had kind of gone dormant, and she was like, let's revitalize the art press when we do Being Towards Death. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Right.
And so it's fun to work with her as the designer for her book, and now she's the editor for my book and publisher. And so it's fun to kind of exchange roles in a way, or kind of to put on these different hats when you're working with people.
Hmm.
But I'm super excited for this book. She has kind of put together this beautiful print edition, this offset run from Portland that has this really nice gloss insert for one of the kind of key switch up moments in the book. Um, and I spent a lot of time working on this really kind of goofy chrome effect on the cover of that one, but I'm super excited for that release. I feel like I was talking to Logan about this a little bit, and maybe you guys touched on it in your conversation, but it feels like both of us have hit kind of this crossed a certain line in how we viewed our catalog, where he referred to them as the juvenile works, which I really liked, which I view a lot of the things that I had kind of worked on before Being Towards Death, which is the name of this book,
Hmm.
uh, as these works that are juvenile, not in a belittling sense, but in that they felt like this youthful thing where the text would kind of discover itself, and I would discover what the text is as I was writing it. And there's a lot of this kind of spontaneity um, and drive and excitement, but also a certain uncertainty as the book's coming together that wasn't always um, removed by the time that the book was done. But I don't think that's to its detriment. I think that uncertainty is inherent in self-discovery. But Being Towards Death and I think Doom for Logan feel like a new period that's a lot more intentional. Being Towards Death took a lot more time to put together than a lot of those books before it did. Like I think some of them, even something like Gut Text, took me 2 months when I made it. Like it
Hmm.
was this just drive forward, like full momentum. But Being Towards Death, I would write and then I would cut back and then I would write and I was kind of reshaping it all the time until it hit this just what felt like the perfect arrangement. There's a lot more kind of like curation and um, retrospection that went into putting it together that it feels so robust to me. Whereas a lot of those older works felt not as sturdy, but really exciting.
Hmm.
And so I think this is coming out kind of much closer to when I wrote it than a lot of recent books have for me. And so it's just a very exciting title that's kind of like got me very excited again to
I
put out things, because I think for a while I was thinking a lot about Cloak, and then I'd be like, oh shit, I have to work on my own things, and it would kind of take a back seat to what I was publishing of other people's, and now this feels like it's kind of pulling itself forward and saying like this is as important as the other people's work that I work on.
I think that there's a lot of people who are excited for the book to come out because like when I see something come out for it on Instagram, there's a lot of people who just seem excited for it. Like
Yeah,
there's an audience there for it.
hell
It
yeah.
yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah, I and so when's it coming out?
October 14th.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was soon. So okay, cool.
Yeah, a little pre-Halloween treat.
Nice.
uh, and that one is it hits a certain, I think a lot of my career uh, up to this point has been about trying to figure out ways to meld book design with text, trying to figure out how to write something that exists in a really unique way on the page without just feeling like, like a text that has images kind of scattered in it, that really feels like those elements are meshing together and really kind of creating something that isn't just you know the parts uh, mixed together. And I feel like Being Towards Death does a lot in that regard that I feel very excited about, and I'm very curious to see how people interact with it. Um, it moves across the page in some really goofy ways. Um, Logan said it's my funniest book. Uh, for those looking for what is almost certainly not
Has
a comedy.
has he read two novels? I mean, that
I don't know.
that
That's
worsens
I don't know
because
how
that
far
book's
back
pretty
he's gone.
funny. But anyways, okay.
He said the new book's great, but let me talk about the old stuff. You're like that guy in a record store. You're like, oh, the new release is great, but have you heard the vintage live performance from '68?
Right, exactly. Yeah. I like that when that was on their EP. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, you're into it now? Okay.
that was yeah, they had a
But
different drummer back then, and it's just not the same. They sold out. It's like,
but no,
but,
I'm
okay,
very
yeah.
excited for the
Are you
proofs are in the
doing
mail and I'm waiting by the mailbox for it.
nice? Are you doing any events for it?
Yeah, we're doing a New York release in Manhattan on the 11th, and then I'm scheduling something in Chicago for November,
Okay.
but that's still kind of in the works. But I'm hoping to be a little bit more physically present for this release. Show up at venues, do some readings.
Yeah. Well, and th- we had some great readings at Moon Palace.
Oh yeah,
So
the gut text release was really fun.
yeah. Yeah, that
Hmm.
was a really good one. And we still have maybe I'll put up a photo when I edit it right there.
Right.
Other side.
Yeah.
But yeah, why Manhattan? Uh,
Um,
that sounds like a
Crop
very
Circle's
odd place
based
for
in
you to work to be.
well, Crop Circle's based in New York, and there's this very cool art gallery in Manhattan that they have access to that we're going to do the
Okay.
reading at. Um, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that's
that'll
awesome.
be a fun one. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be appearing on social media sometime soon.
Okay.
Instagram post, maybe an X post, a Twitter post, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're gonna do one there. I was also, and this is all speculation, but I was also considering a little Midwest tour of doing like Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, maybe
Okay.
even just as an excuse to come back and visit.
Nice.
But I'm also doing I'll read from it at the end of this month in Minneapolis on the 25th at a backyard reading series.
Oh, I didn't know you were coming back to Minnesota.
I and few do. Only for a few days at the end of this month,
Okay.
limited time.
Okay.
But
Nice.
I'll send you the details for that, and maybe you can make an appearance if it fits into the schedule. No pressure.
Yeah, I'll see. I'll see what I can do. I like to stay out in the nowhere lands.
See, and I think this is like in I want to say like northeast or something. So maybe it's not downtown, so you don't have to be as concerned. There's probably street parking. I know you have trouble with that. Well, you probably don't have that big work truck anymore, but I know that truck made you anxious to park in the city. I think this will
Yeah,
have street
that was no,
parking.
I still do. I um that's a little further away, but it doesn't mean that yeah, I can talk to Megan and
And
see.
it might not even be in Northeast. I might be completely wrong. I have not looked at the address yet.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I
there's
will.
because I know that David wants to do something. I'm thinking of like other people who may want to do something. Uh, because with Jake's book coming out,
Yeah,
want to go to Buffalo.
I know. I feel like the longer I don't go to Buffalo, the more reasons I have to go to Buffalo. Because I knew Jake, and now I know Joe Hall, and now I
Yeah.
know Tom Michael Berger Young, and I'm sure I'm going to meet another person who lives in Buffalo, who's a cool writer. He's going to ask me to come to Buffalo,
You got to get to
and
Buffalo
so
before the snow
I
hits.
know, I know. But the thing is I already have to go to New York before the snow hits, and then I don't know if I can go to New York twice before the snow hits. I don't know if I got the time or the budget.
Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, well, regardless, that's exciting for your new book. I'm excited to see this new era of Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's also, as much as, I love what print on demand allows us to do at different budgets, but it's always very exciting to do a title offset if you can
Mhm.
manage.
Yeah,
Um,
is it actually offset or is it a
yeah, it's
digital print?
it's
They had the
fully offset.
really.
Yeah, not even SRDP, full offset.
Wow.
hmm Had to adjust the page count. That's how you know.
That's pricey.
hmm
Printed in the US, that's pricey.
Yeah, coming out. I think it was printed in Portland, if I remember. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really beautiful edition. It's got the duplex cover and everything too. Not to. This feels very classic designers that we talk about my book and I don't say what it's about. I just say what it looks like.
Uh-huh.
But no, I'm also very excited for the writing in the book as well as the actual edition that it'll be housed in. Um, it's pretty much if I had to sum it up in like a quick way, I would say um, you move into a apartment building from hell and the building is mad at you. Is probably a good way to describe it.
All right. Which I mean is very like Mike in essence.
Yeah,
Because I think about the RPG game that you
yeah,
perform.
yeah. Bodies like meat.
Yeah, Bodies Like Me, which was a great
hmm
RPG kind of click through. I don't know, but it was not really RPG, but what would you call
Yeah,
that?
I would call it a tabletop role playing game.
Okay.
So an RPG that works.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really I think I still have a copy. Yeah, I do. It's right here. I uh I got a lot of books that I used to have I don't have anymore, but I do have some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bodies Like Me.
There it is.
And there it is. And yeah. How many books do you have at this point? I'm gonna flip through because it looks nice inside.
Um, I don't. It's hard to tell because there's the cloak ones that I don't have my name on, but it might be something like 15.
Really?
But
I
I'm just throwing a semi-random number out there. But
I'd say
the
I would think that
you're thinking a higher number?
RP RPG Death Simulator,
Yep, that's the that's the subtitle.
which is amazing. Uh, yeah, I just think about like all the presses that you've published with, and I was just in my head, I was like, there's got to be like at least it's got to be in the 20s. But
I I don't think I've hit 20 yet. Now I gotta.
I'll ask your mom because she has a copy of all of them.
No, you can have her go. She has like a uh little bookshelf with just stuff that I. Now it's getting muddled though because there's some cloak books in there, so it might be hard to get a quick count. She might have to get back to you.
Okay. Well, the last book that you did with 1111, I don't think there's any more. I mean, I think this is the last one, which is,
Yeah, I think that's the most recent. Yeah.
and we have the naked version of this left. There's like
The Cowards edition.
Howard's edition. There's 7 copies that I can see right now remaining
hmm
that do not have the sandpaper.
Yeah.
And this is something that goes back way back to like one of our
One
first
of our first, yeah, because you had brought up
no,
because we were talking about weird books, and you had brought up this book that Guy Debord did
mhm.
that was bound in sandpaper,
And
and
this
I was
is
like, that's incredible. And this book is not exactly bound, but jacketed in sandpaper
yeah,
and stapled, so you can't really unjacket it unless you
right.
tear the book apart because
And
it's
this is
a.
and the idea behind it is that it destroys the books that you put it on the shelf next to. You put
hmm
it there, sandpapers the other covers.
Yeah, and it only felt right, so I put it on my shelf. It's between two other books I wrote because it feels like it should be. If I'm gonna do this, it has to be maybe self-inflicted. Like I can't, because then if I have the book, presumably I like it, so I don't want to, shit talk the neighbors on the shelf. So it's like I have to take the hit. So I think
Yeah,
it's between Persimmon and gut text right now. So I
nice.
can only imagine what those covers look like.
And there were so this is our for our archive, no, copy number 11. And
Hmm.
but there are so you did 69. So I remember when we put this book together, it just was like we wanted it to be the most like irritating book. So like
Hmm.
69 jacketed copies,
Yeah.
but there's actually more copies than 69
There's like there's 70 something because
because those
there's
are
the
the
other editions. There's if I remember there's the standard edition, which is what you were holding.
yeah.
There's the Cowards edition without the jacket, the defensive edition with the strips kind of shingled.
Mhm.
Um, and then there was one that was called the Inoperable edition, which is the one that was nailed shut.
Yeah. There's only one copy of that.
And that one sold pretty quick, if I remember that one.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause
it's the one-offs.
Yeah,
And I think that yeah, I was gonna say I think that somebody posted about the person who bought it posted about it.
he was like I want to say he was a teacher and he had shown it to students
Yeah,
or something kind of crazy like that.
and I think it goes back to the philosophy of like pushing a book. Like, is this still a book?
Hmm.
One of those like fun,
Yeah,
uh,
and I
so one of those
I
fun
think that one's
question
a great
seminars.
question. Yeah, the Inoperable edition is a good question in that regard too, because it we did something that I don't remember if I told you I had done it or not, but the jacket for that one doesn't wrap around. It doesn't have flaps, and it's cut too short. So once you unnail it, you can't close it back up. It won't stay closed.
Okay,
So once you take the nail out, you can't. You can never
you
shut the
can't
book
close it
again.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, I remember talking to. I remember the visual of that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Because I do remember we dropped them off at your house, and one of them was a book with a giant nail through the middle.
yeah. I think that did I pick them up? I remember going to where you were living,
Oh yeah, you came to my place for
parking
it
my truck, and it was
in like the alleyway or
stressful.
something. Yeah,
I got like two
yeah,
blocks away because I couldn't find
yeah,
parking.
yep. That sounds about right.
Yeah, finding you,
But
and then yeah, just like walking around with this like these like
mhm.
this box full of this weird.
Yeah, sandpaper bound. Yeah, I remember we tried to source printers initially
Yeah.
to
Well,
see
I
if we
mean,
could do a paperback, and it it would have destroyed any machine that they tried to use.
yeah. And so I remember asking Josh, going back to Josh Ross, who has his finger in so many different things.
Hmm.
But was it Chatwin? There's someone who shares space with him, like which eventually became Asterism. They have
Hmm.
they do printing there. And so he asked the person there about like if they could print this and bind it for us. And they were
Hmm.
like, no, this would ruin our machines.
Yeah, and it does make sense, you know.
Yeah. So
And
that was like but it was like I remember like writing the email to Josh and being like, okay, so this is the idea. It's bound in sandpaper, and this is why. And he was like, "Oh, that's he was like, cool, yeah, I'm gonna see if they can do this for you." And they were
yeah,
like, "Absolutely not."
yeah, and I even remember even any simple task is difficult when you have to rub sandpaper while you're doing it. You know, like
Uh,
because we were putting it together and it was me, Danica Stegman, and my partner Ruby had like a little assembly line. And initially, the line was someone would cut, someone would fold, and then someone would like put it on the book and staple it. And I did the book and stapling because I that was the most rubbing against the sandpaper of the task. So I felt like I should probably do that. But even we were trying to use a whalebone for the folding, and then we had to stop because it would grind the whalebone because it's sandpaper and you're rubbing it. And so
I
it was
remember
like every step you had to be like,
yeah.
how can we do this without ruining the thing we're doing it with?
I just remember the conversations of even picking out the sandpaper roll because
Hmm.
this wasn't like industrial sandpaper supply that we had to get to,
Yeah.
and we're talking about the grit. We were talking about like the size of it, and then we're like, well, can we
Hmm.
change the book size to fit the size that come in a roll?
Yeah.
Um, so it was a lot of fun conversations about it, and
Yeah.
yeah, and thanks to you three putting it together because I was not part of that, and
No, that was a rough. The next day, the tips of my fingers were all worn down that I couldn't hold my coffee right because it would burn like the really raw tips. So I had to like it was goofy. I remember we got like Somali food after that and it was like everything will be okay. Like we're done. The food's good. we'll we'll survive. But yeah, that was so fun. I remember the that initial conversation because the more coarse the grit, the more the paper folds or cracks instead of folds,
Mhm.
and so it's like how coarse can it be and still malleable? And I think we landed somewhere around like 80 or 100, I want to say.
Yeah, I remember talking to some people that work where I work, which is heavy industrial construction, and I was asking them
Yeah.
about like, so if you had a book that was bound in sandpaper, and the audience, very sweet people, but just of a different type, they're industrial
Yeah.
workers, and they were all giving me feedback, and they were getting into it, and there was
Hell
somebody who
yeah.
was like, I think it might be like 80 grit. They're like, you got it. That is the grit that you, and I was like, sold. That's what it is.
And it
And
worked. That was the
they
right
were
grit.
talking about the same thing that we're talking about now, which is about, if it'd be too soft, or, if it would be too much, if it's the lower grit, right? And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. And
so I
that's
was very happy to lean on those people to ask their input too.
yeah, it's always good to know when to ask for help, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And we do have a big cutting shear, which I was thinking about that we could use, but it just ended up that the roll was a good size for
Yeah.
us to just do it by hand.
Yeah, I do remember you gave me this like worn out paper cutter to use for it.
Yeah, that
And
didn't
by
work
the
out.
end,
I bet.
well, by the end, the blade had gotten so dull that you had to like put your full body into it. So I was kind of like lurching down every time it had to get
Yeah,
cut.
that was one of the workers. He just gave it to me. He was like, use this.
Yeah, that's
He
after a
might have
while we
even
just went
sharpened.
to
He might have. I don't know how you sharpen one of those blades, but I think that he sharpened it for us.
yeah, and it was very helpful until a blade can only take so much rubbing against sandpaper until it's
Yeah,
no longer sharp.
yeah.
But
Well, right, and he gave it to us, basically being like, I'm never gonna see this again, and that's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't even think you ever saw it again after.
Yeah, it was a disposable item at that point.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's kind of the body on it with the kind of ruler increments, and we were using that as like a surface to nail things on and do the staples and whatnot. So is because we didn't have, hindsight's 2020, but we didn't have anything to staple on that would fold the staples. So I'd have to staple it, pry it out of the board, and then hammer the staples down, or
Uh-huh.
fold them down with the hammer. And so it's just this whole thing. But I mean, I self-inflicted wound again, but it's really shout out to Ruby and Danica
Yeah.
for some reason
Yeah,
going
thank you
along with that.
both. Maybe thank you all three of you for being there, because I couldn't make the party.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
Yeah.
and it feels like a good book for that cover or for that treatment. Being that it's this very chaotic, overstimulating kind of thing
Yeah.
inside as well.
I was gonna find that spread that I really liked. I mean,
Now I'm really
there's a
curious
lot
which
of
spread
cool
it is.
ones like this.
Yeah.
Uh, and like this, I rub my knuckles against the sandpaper
Yeah.
every
Some of
time.
the copies do have my blood in them for those who who want to take a peek at their own if they have one.
So it's these this section right here. There was one in particular, like it was the like constellations.
Oh yeah,
There was one in particular I really liked, and I don't know if I'll be able to find it right away because I keep on rubbing my knuckles against the sandpaper.
yeah. It sounds
Um,
like you needed a copy of the Cowards edition.
yeah, I should have. Yeah, there's one over there I could grab. Personal cube. I'm not gonna find it because it's really fun. The whole thing.
And that like idea of kind of presenting the text as a map of sorts, I really liked. Like the
Yeah.
that's kind of first, I want to say like 30-page section of the book, maybe 40-page section, is these spreads are just kind of constellations or maps of these different kind of terms or odd ideas or quotes, kind of all sharing the space in an odd way. I was mimicking a lot of these maps of like Europe and Africa, where you'd see like these kind of odd angled text for bodies of water or like random kind of prominent cities like mapped out, and then you'd see these large swatches of text for like a mountain range. And I wanted to do that, but kind of removed of its context. I love that Five Boys one on the previous spread. Um, the but I love the idea of like removing the context of the map but keeping that composition and trying to figure out kind of like how you would navigate that, because in a map you're presumably there to either just kind of get a glance or to find something specific.
Mhm.
And I really was drawn to that kind of like fully zoomed out or fully zoomed in approach, and I was curious about how people would move through it.
Yeah. Well, and something we talked about too is that like thematically, if um I started jokingly calling this one Gut Text 2 and this one
Yeah,
Gut Text 3. And
yeah.
I don't know if you've thought more about that, if you see the similar themes between all three, or
I
if
haven't noticed them as much in Stealth Anxiety, but now I might have to revisit, because I always thought of Desert Tiles, the one that I did
oh
with
yeah,
Equus Press, as a
yeah.
Gut Text 3. But maybe that one is, I I do kind of find myself working in little batches like that, where there's like an idea that I'll be fixated on for a few books before I can kind of move on or be exercised of it. Um, and I think the kind of idea that started in Gut Text kind of occurs in probably like four or five other books that I'm still trying to figure it out in. And I wouldn't be surprised if it made it all the way to Stealth Anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, but at this same time, I do think that each of your books operate independently. And I think
Hmm.
that each of these books are very unique. Obviously, they have your essence of who you are and how you write, but
Hmm.
they're all very distinct works in and of themselves.
Well, thank you. That's the hope.
Yeah. I mean, it's not quite man oh man, but
And I knew I could feel that on the horizon. I have a good friend who uh, was an early reader for Gut Text, and he like absolutely loved it. And then I would send him books after that, and he would always say, "This is good, but it's no Gut Text." And so I,
I mean, I feel that too. I think that this was really excellently crafted. If you get into the book and you really feel the characters and you see what they're doing, uh, it's a complete work. Like even the
Mhm.
the ending of it, spoiler, uh, it's just how you get to this point and you have these pages. You say, "Look at me," and it's the full page, and it continues for a little while. And then I just like how you have this little thing like at the end,
Yeah,
continue on, because it's. I think that a lot of people would just have this. as the ending, have this be the final, uh, I made with a hammer, concussions dispersed across the surface, and then have it end. But then you're like, no, but that's not really the end. It continues,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's like a very high, like it goes from being like good to being like that totally made the piece what it is. And that's
I,
just like what that's one of many aspects where you do that so well, where you capture that. It's like a very skillful, artistic something that
thank you.
you captured, and you may not even be aware that you did it, or maybe when you were
It's
in that flow state at the time you knew it. But
I don't I think it's like there's I'm sure some kind of like technical or craft skill that goes along with it, but in the moment it just feels like you are holding on to or like really trying to grab the thing that's in front of you and not letting go. And maybe it's sometimes you might hold on for a little too long, but I think that it's about like trying to fully hit that because I find that even when it's like gut text is often a very like abstract book. It's not very kind of it's really almost never grounded in reality. um, but even when you're working on these things, you kind of like feel these strong emotions or ideas hit you, and I think it's easy to kind of feel that, hit it for a note, and then kind of grab onto the next thing. But I think especially in gut text is when I was trying to embrace like really sitting in how I felt while I was writing it and trying to fully feel that feeling, you know?
Mhm.
And I think that's what that ending is me saying like I can't let go quite yet, you know?
And neither can the text.
There and that's the thing. Me and the text are not so different.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to add about the gut text other than I do think that it is like and you would know because you probably have a better understanding of sales from your other books, but as far as from 1111 has been your most popular book. And it's
Hmm.
been the one that most people refer to as like, oh, Mike's the guy who wrote gut text.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty accurate. And it is probably like even just in terms of understanding what I want to do as a writer, I think that was probably one of the most important books for me because Man Oh Man kind of got me into the mix of things, but I think gut text is when I kind of figured out like, well, this is what I want to really do as a writer, kind of where I found that voice.
Yeah.
So
And 20 books
feel
later,
free to enjoy it,
you found it.
prospective readers. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so moving forward to where you are today, what we've talked about Cloak, we've talked about your new book that's coming out in October.
Mm.
Anything else? Any other highlights you want to
Oh
touch on?
man, I think we've in the last 2 to 4 hours we've been talking. I think we've really thoroughly kind of
4
covered where
hours.
I'm at. No, I think no, I think that's kind of where I'm at. I think I'm trying to really be in the moment with the new book release and not kind of think beyond it. Uh, because it's one of the books that I felt the most certain of being towards death. Um, I'm really trying to kind of it's I think this is maybe more of a tangent, but I for a long time really hated reading my stuff out loud, and I think it's because they were these works of self-discovery. And even though I feel that they're really solid works, by the end as the writer, I've discovered it. So to go back to when I hadn't can sometimes be hard or frustrating. But with being towards death, it's I feel very confident that from the beginning of what you read as the reader uh, is so kind of thoroughly what I want it to be, uh, and very thoroughly curated that I'm excited to kind of go out and read it. And it's one of the first books that I've thought about how it sounds out loud.
Hmm.
With all my
This
previous
is
works
all
having
new.
been,
This is a new Mike.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know it's because a lot of those earlier books, by nature of the point of the book is what it's doing on the page. I wasn't necessarily thinking about reading it because that's outside of the scope of what my my intention had been. And then, you put out a book and people want you to read it naturally. And I was like, well, that's not what I'm trying to do here. But now I've come to terms, accepted, and even embraced the fact that I should read the things that I write. And so this is in the batch of things that I intend to be able to be read out loud. So mark that as the line in the sand.
Yeah, that's awesome because I mean, yeah, there are those books that's oh, what's it called? The first one you did with Inside the Castle.
Smut-Maker.
Yeah. I mean,
The
that was
the
just like very like
you need 30 people to read that out loud. I mean, I don't know how you're, because
yeah.
that's kind of, yeah. Or even like something like stealth anxiety with those spreads you were showing. It's like that's not really something you can perform
Mhm.
um, without really dramatically kind of changing how the text moves. Um, and so now I've, at least parts of Being Towards Death are meant to be read out loud.
Yeah. Well,
Some
yeah,
parts I don't know, but
I'm excited to read Being Towards Death because
mhm.
yeah, something else that and maybe this is it. Remember when I talked about like you'd have your hairspray moment where you'd break through,
Yeah, yeah.
you'd
I will not shirk
break
the
through
John
from the
Waters
indie
to
world to
truth.
the
Yeah,
mainstream.
yeah. I don't know. I think this book is, uh, as I'm talking it up a lot because I love it, but also it does look as weird as the previous ones. So I don't know. I don't know if this is like my accessible um, option in that regard, but I do. It is the maybe this is recency bias, but it is my favorite thing that I've released. Uh, but I think that's how it works as a writer. You'd hope that it works as a writer, is that the newest thing is your favorite or the
Favorite, yeah.
best. You know,
Absolutely, that's how it should
I'd
be.
like to think that I get better with time, but I would not say no to a hairspray moment. Not to not to say that I don't want one.
It's not that you need to change, it's that the art culture needs to change.
It's everyone
It's
else is the
not,
problem.
yeah, it's not your fault. Everyone else who's wrong.
Oh man,
But you know,
but
I do think that there is something, just to riff on that for a second, there is something
yeah,
special about these like small art spaces. Because I
hmm
remember being at, well, there's a few readings in particular where I just remember taking it all in and thinking that there's nothing else that exists like this moment that's happening right now. Like
yeah,
there's no like cool art galleries or performances or they're all trying to emulate what the cool thing that we have going on right now. You know, these like
hmm
50 people or whatever who are observing this. It's very
yeah,
special and sacred almost.
yeah. And I
That
think,
like
you
can
know,
only happen at this kind of a level.
yeah, and that's the hard thing about. I think when a lot of people start making art, maybe in general, they think about like these lofty and romantic ideas of how people engage with art, or how like maybe people as a whole or culture engages with art, and then you kind of get shown that in reality it's the ideal is that like 100 people really like what you do. And I because
Yeah.
in a lot of ways art is, an attempt to communicate something, and at certain scales you stop being able to communicate in an individual way. um if you think of like some pop singer isn't having like a conversation with a fan about something that they wrote, because that kind of level of fame and stardom I think would kind of do a lot to take that conversation back, versus when you're writing things at this level, it feels very meaningful that you can make this piece of art and then have like a meaningful conversation with a stranger about it without any kind of like preconceived kind of, or you'd hope without any kind of ego or like weird dynamic present. Like it feels like you're not on some weird lofty level.
Yeah, I think that yeah, like hitting on some of the more mainstream stuff or like the mainstream music. And yeah, even like when it comes to music, like the stuff that I like, it's like it's not the thing that everyone else is listening to. It's but the thing is it's like trying to capture the most amount of people. So you're hitting on the most basic kind of ideas of themes.
Yeah.
Where this is like very like particular. It's very something that you said is uh we publish books. It's reading that hurts.
Yeah.
And I've adopted that. I remember we talked about it, and I put it on a
Yeah.
um, bookmark. But you were the one who coined that, reading that hurts.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's true for all the time, but it's you're pushing people to an uncomfortable place,
Yeah. I
and
think
not
maybe
everyone likes
the
to be pet that way. Not everyone
yeah,
wants to
and I
do
think
that.
reading that hurts is a fun sentence, but I think maybe the sentiment I was trying to get at is like the it shouldn't always be easy to engage with art, you know? There should be like a some amount of work that you have to do as the participant or the reader, the recipient, whatever kind of engagement, um, which is kind of part of this fixation on how design and text interact. Is the reading that hurts to me is a reading that tells you that you have to figure out how to move through it. When I was talking to, not to name drop, John Treffrey from Inside the Castle,
Uh-huh.
um, we were talking about this idea of like a book as a building, um, and some buildings have very specific purposes where you enter the building, you go to one place, and you leave the building. But I like the idea of a building that you don't necessarily know why you're there or where you're supposed to go, or maybe you're a robber who broke in through the window, and it's kind of a lack of direction in that regard, but still everything has its use, and you'll find a way to utilize that use or interact with that use.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. That yeah. 100%. And I think that there's the things that sell are fast food, the fast food equivalents or the beach reads, or because it's easy to follow. You know why you're there. You know what you're getting out of
Yeah,
it. Um,
yeah, and that's there's it's hard because there's all different levels too, because some stuff hits that level and it's like a truly special thing, but it's just so rare. And there's now, with everything being so kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, kind of fractured. There's so many different ways that things get released and who's able to see them, that I mean, just finding people to meaningfully engage with the stuff you do is already enough.
yeah,
So that's my
and
take
yeah,
on art.
and going back to who was that publisher? Was it Winter Editions? Uh,
Yeah, who does the social media free?
yeah, because
Hmm.
that's where I'm at, where I'm thinking about like I have to put a social media post up today, and it's like, well, that's just it's a necessary part of like promoting, but it's not something
Yeah,
that seems like I want to be
yeah. It's a
right
there's a
now.
tension
So,
between wanting to get this in front of as many people as possible and wanting to get in front of people who will care about it.
hmm
And that it there's the question of, I mean, is social media where I find the people who care about it, or is there another thing I should be doing to get straight to those people? And it's, as someone who hates PR and business models as we established, I
Right.
don't know how to answer that question. It is hard for me to figure out how to answer it. But that does feel like the crossroads I always end up at when I'm thinking about how books kind of like, or how what we do fits into social media or how we're supposed to use it.
hmm
And I do not have a good answer.
Well, I think that there people who are looking for the stuff that we're doing will eventually find it. But I think
Yeah.
that you said that maybe there's like 100 people, and I think that you're right. Like maybe there is only 100 people who are interested in this, and um,
Hmm.
it's a pretty small number, but we're making it not for scale.
Yeah,
It's for something else.
and not to sound
You Yeah, go ahead.
selfish, but I hope that it's maybe more like a few thousand.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think that you're right, and I think that I when we would like do the Twin Cities Book Festival,
Hmm.
or some of those things, or even um AWP, right? That's what it's called. We did
Yeah,
that one year. There are so many people who would come to uh and I'm using this like 1111, but if you had a booth there, I mean, just because how your books are designed, we had a lot of people who were just drawn to
yeah,
because of how they look and how, and there were so many people who they'd say things like, "Oh, I've always wanted to write a book like this. This is the book I wanted to write, but my advisor told me that I shouldn't do
yeah,
this because no one would publish it. And here you are
hmm,
publishing the stuff." And those are
yeah,
hard conversations to have because I'm like, well, yeah, you should always do the thing that you want to do.
yeah,
HarperCollins or whatever, they don't care, or they're not
yeah,
like,
and
why is that your goal?
yeah, and I
Because you're
think
not going
it's
to make money. Like that's like, even if you
yeah,
sell thousands of copies with a big five, you're not going to make much more than the hundreds of copies you sell with a small press.
yeah, and that's I think a lot of this stems from issues of like how being a writer is framed. It's often very like romanticized, it's like
Yeah.
Stephen King is like the mental image of a writer people have, where he's this millionaire who's living off of it and doing great, and he's
Hmm.
like one of two people in that position.
Right.
And that's the reality, is that the point of writing is because you love to do it, or you're compelled to do it and you have to. It's uh, to do it for financial reasons is just kind of naive. and
Yeah.
I and with those festivals, I as maybe a side note, um was often thinking about, I think people get not only kind of by their advisors when they want to write something like that, kind of dismissed or told, not to. But I think often that the way that people are taught to read is very, people are taught to read like they're trying to solve a riddle. Um, every symbol leads to this grand kind of answer,
Hmm.
which I just don't think is the case. And so I think when people inevitably get exhausted of that approach to reading and analysis, I think these more ambiguous exploratory works become appealing. And I think I've thought a lot about, because often I hear from people who don't read very much that they like my work, or that it's the type of work they would want to read. And in part, I think maybe because there's less to read and more pictures and breaks, and so it's more approachable in like a strictly um, in terms of just how much you have to deal with at a time. But another part of me that's maybe thinking more thoroughly is that these works don't demand like to be solved, and I think that can be very freeing for people, that you can just inhabit a text, and when
Hmm.
you're done you don't have to say what meaningful moral play came out of it. You can just inhabit a book for a moment and then leave when you're done.
Perfect. I totally agree. I mean, even more traditional books, people talk about how like, oh, I read this when I was younger and I read it when I'm older and it's a different book.
Hmm.
I mean, we're just doing that where just more quickly, I guess, or it's
Yeah. Yeah. um, that's I like the idea of, I think it's maybe the immediate response to a lot of these works is to think of them as pretentious because they're doing these experimental things, but I like to think that they are hopefully functioning as the opposite and saying you don't even have to be able to explain what I'm about when you're done. You can
yeah,
you I think I find it very freeing to read books in the way that you only really get out of them what you feel like, or what you latch onto in the moment. I don't think you should have to be able to put together that book report when you're done about the
right.
the symbolism of the color gray. you know?
Yeah, and I think that comes from like literary theory, like critical theory,
Hmm.
all those other things that we were taught
Yeah,
in our English classes, and
yeah,
because that's like, that's how you get graded, that's how you're supposed to read books, and I think that that's
yeah,
a good tool, but there's so many other tools in your toolbox, and
yeah,
books should be like philosophy where you end up leaving them with more questions. You might have had a few answers uh, come to you,
mhm,
but those just led to more questions, and so you end
yeah,
up leaving a book more confused. Uh,
yeah,
but not like a chaotic like confusion, like, but more like, oh, there's more to this than I even thought. It's opening
yeah,
your mind.
yeah, and that's what you hope to be able to do.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh man.
I it's bane of my existence is that now not even people saying it, but now anytime I say, "Oh man," I think about that book.
Yeah. There's gonna be
Just in turn.
like 8 to 12 people who watch this, and they're gonna go buy a copy of Man Oh Man.
And I'm gonna suggest that they maybe grab a different one instead. Why get the first book when you can get the latest book? Pre-orders are open for Being Towards Death.
uh, you get both and two
There you go.
copies
Yeah.
because those detectives are pretty funny.
Well, thank you.
Um,
Oh
well,
man.
is this the natural end? Do we get to a
I
natural
think
roll in the
I think
conversation?
so.
Because it's at exactly 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
So,
Yeah, I think that might be uh the end of my battery. I gotta work in the morning, you know.
oh, okay. Yeah, me too. So,
That's I had a hunch.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, but always a pleasure. It's been way too long.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we had a good talk. And then I want to have like the talk behind the talk.
Yeah.
So we'll have to like catch up another time where it's not
Yeah,
recorded.
we'll have to have a non-performative
Yeah.
chill conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, where we
I'll
can.
send you the details for that reading, which you have no obligation to go to.
Okay.
Um, but it's, do you know MC
Will you be
Highland?
driving through here?
Yeah, where Ruby has a work conference at the end of this month, and so I then kind of latched on for the reading. So
Hmm.
we're going to be in town for like a week.
Okay. Yeah, because I like to stay out in the woods, right?
Hmm.
But
And
yeah, I can go back into civilization if I need to.
yeah, I think civilization's only like 20 to 30 minutes from you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not that far. But
I was gonna say you're making it sound like a trek.
yeah, there's a really good Indian food place here. Are you still vegan or
Vegetarian.
vegetarian? Yeah. Because there's this obviously, Megan and I are too. And so there's this
Hmm.
really good they have a really good vegetarian selection at this Indian food restaurant
Ooh,
if you wanted
hell
to
yeah.
make it out
Yeah,
here.
I
Um,
I will let you know. I'll let you know when I send you the reading dates. I'll also let you know like what days we're in town for,
okay.
and
Yeah,
then we
I
can
could
do something out.
yeah, because it maybe if you don't have something going on one of those days,
Yeah,
I could meet up with you.
perfect. Yeah, that'd be great.
Go for a walk, have a picnic, kind of like the old days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We like the good old days when we had picnics. Yeah.
Metaphorical picnics.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, this was great, and I will hopefully see you soon.
Okay, all right. Yep, I'll see you later. Have a good night.
Okay. Yeah. You
Right,
too.
bye.
Bye.
It seems cruel that they should sit outside a threshold for cut me in half. Gaseous bodies humming like bees, lingering in the open air, occupying small pockets of space. If you cut me in half, there will be something inside. I don't know what. I want to be made of something that can be cut open. Text, language spilling out of each split orifice. Object, have into smaller pieces of myself. Substance, made from something lost, which I can never fully remember. Place, with geographical reason, signification in space. Existent, cuttable. Someone, where the cut will hurt me. Other, unmaterialized. Present, thought of. Across 1,000 plateaus there is nothing. Presence, I can identify. Cut me in half and the blade will carry its weight into the ground, splitting each plateau into smaller segments. Smaller plateaus, 2,000 plateaus. Please do not catch me in the act of correcting myself. Please do not catch me changing the components of my abstract machine. Please do not catch me in this intimate place, singular, the erotic state of being alone. FF told YY to put themselves in a smaller container / to accept this smaller container. YY said this container is made to hold one identity, no components, singular, and placing so many of us in one place has destroyed what was here originally. Factory of machines, abstract physical, living parts who form the larger collective part. Where am I now? Right here. How should a person be? If that is what I'd like to be. I do not want to be the text. I want to be something beyond, a living entity. VV entering and then returning, materialized, unmaterialized, uncertain direction, but consistent in velocity. I cannot bear to slow down, leaping, spinning. What does a text look like when it's no longer a text? Materialized. I want to exist out of context, text as itself, unmaterialized. I am, unmaterialized, and it hurts. Large but not large, a different kind of large, larger, I am not. FF/NN/YY, YY/FF under the non-existent mattress, signifier, sleeping inconveniently. For abstract machines as they achieve something real / crawl out of the sea foam onto the shore and into the veil of the dense woods. Hidden until they learn to accumulate their surroundings, absorbing the environment, materialized, and grown to the size of Cageus. FF consuming every city /NN swallowing the sea water /YY collapsing mountain /BV someone text rendered into itself. Ontological, materialized, pages black and emptied. Cut me in half and there will be something inside. Pure language, rain scratch, oh, it crawls out of the mouth and turns the throat raw. 2,000 plateaus vacated of my presence. I am far away from here. You cannot see me anymore. I've allowed myself to disappear. Faux, flat, the previous body stretched thin, locked from stasis, in flux. I do not want to remain as I am for any longer than a moment. Make my presence, object, a labyrinth to be navigated, ever-changing and dishonest. What kind of large am I supposed to be? Not YY. Objects made organismally / abstract machines in the shape of living creatures, materialized. Without parents I did not come from anything. Birth / without conception or formation. There is no mother. Super subject. I am not the product of tangled subjects. I am made from objects / of objects / the assembling of many objects into a network. Materialized. The substance of my creation is the hard plastic of half-finished furniture and faux wooden flooring. I will be the space occupied by poetic beings, poetic machine, territorializing. What kind of assemblage can be made out of polished materials? The collective room that I will become, materialized. YY has turned into something unrecognizable, arrogant in their occupation of space. I do not want to consume the vast field. I want to be the field, the assembled space, large, consuming. YY is not wearing a man suit / O cannot eat their own head / FF does not know what I look like. The shape of my head is oblong and coarse. Cut me in half. There will be 2,000 plateaus pressed against one another, coating the inner lining of my membranes. Becoming so large, 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 becoming plateau, becoming machine, becoming body, becoming birdsong, becoming direction, becoming stasis, becoming mattress, becoming thin, becoming ingescence, becoming material, becoming person, becoming animal, becoming gels, becoming beautiful, becoming real, becoming void, becoming screen, becoming celestial, becoming didion, becoming atmosphere, becoming ground. Becoming tide, becoming flame, becoming apostrophe, becoming strata, becoming mechanical, becoming no, becoming collection, becoming hard, becoming feather, becoming organism, becoming jabrion, becoming grok, becoming college, becoming gas amblage, becoming mythopia, becoming sparring, becoming Spartan, becoming lightweight, becoming isa, becoming simeon, and then the old machines have finished eating.